Happy Freight Friday! We are back in action. We are streaming to you from Freight Waves TV. That's nice. I'm already starting off Friday where I can't even talk. But that's okay, because guess what? I have a beer in my hand. Today we are drinking Modelo, which I've never seen from a can, but I have it, and it's delicious. What is everybody drinking? You guys get your beer ready. It's Friday. You survived the week. It's been going well. Everybody's happy. I'm hoping everybody's happy. Everybody's been dealing with, double brokering drama out of Southern California and rates all over the place and trailers being expensive. Who knows? But don't worry, FreightWaves keeps you on top of everything. Speaking of FreightWaves, so have you guys bought your tickets to go to Arkansas yet? Because it's very important. We're all going to go to Arkansas. We're going to be at an amazing conference. You guys know FreightWaves puts on the best conferences in the whole industry. Everyone's going to be there. We're going to go. We're going to have fun. And guess who else is going to be there? I'm pretty sure the Boiler Room guys are going to be there. And y'all know how much I love and hate the Boiler Room guys. I love them. And they're like my little brothers that I never wanted. And they're mean to me every day. But they're going to be there. You guys can give them a hard time. So join us. I'm so excited. We're going to go to Arkansas and have fun. Yes, baby. I've got a special show for you guys. And I'll tell you why. First of all, long time ago, years and years ago, I worked at Echo Global Logistics, and I met this wonderful person named Beth Howard, and she was like my best friend, and she was the best manager in the world. Everybody loved working for her. She was a rock star there, and ever since throughout my career, she's remained one of my best friends, and I've always asked her to come on the show, and she's repeatedly, like Andrew Teal, told me no. Finally, the other day, she said yes, and I had to reshuffle everything, and I came on, and then we invited, you guys know how much I love Project 44. We invited one of her friends from Project 44 to join us, and we're going to learn about what's new in technology going on in the industry. Let's talk about why carriers won't opt into visibility, because that's always a juicy topic. Let's hear about what's new and sexy, and then also let's ask them some awkward questions about their careers, because I love doing that. So if the Boiler Room guys are still sober and they haven't blown through a whole bottle of tequila yet because they have to deal with me, could they please bring on my wonderful guests, including Miss Beth Howard, who is my favorite person ever. And we're going to talk about why Beth Howard is working at Transfix.
Yeah, cheers.
Beth, you didn't tell
Thanks
me
for having me.
Cheers, mi amor. Thank you for joining us. Jackie, I'm very excited that you are with us. I'm also excited to learn more about you because I've heard a lot about you. I've talked about you with Beth, but I think it's really important that we have you on here and everybody learns. Okay, Beth, first, Transfix, okay? Overnight, Suddenly, you don't tell me anything, and you spring up and you're like, I'm at Transfix. Ta-da! And I'm like, I don't know much about it. I know they're a good company or whatever, but I don't know much about them. Tell me about your decision-making, where you've gone, your career, everything people need to know. Just tell us everything.
All right, everything you need to know.
It's up to you.
Well, not too much. All you need to know is Cassandra maybe over-exaggerates. She's not my best friend. I'm not her best friend. We just are really friendly because if you watch the show. Come on, guys, judge a character. No, I'm just joking. She's a great person. So been in the industry for a really long time. So I'm actually originally from Alabama. I've been in the industry a long time.
The Boiler Room guys really love that comment. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sure they. And the way I got in the industry was by default. My parents own an auto parts store. We've always been around transportation. They sold glad hands and brake drums and anything you needed to service your rig. A tractor trailer going up, and I unloaded freight trucks, and I did all that. And then I went to school. Thought I was going to be a teacher, did not work out well for me. And I ended up in freight because it was the only career path that wanted me at the time. So had a stint at Echo Global Logistics that lasted for 8 years. I did a lot of things like sales and carrier sales and training, and met a lot of really wonderful people like Cassandra that really did teach me a lot about the industry. Made my way over to Amazon transportation. And worked with someone a lot of people might know. Her name is Kate Kaufman, also a wonderful mentor and someone that's been invaluable in my career. And worked with their kind of relay app, which goes into this tracking and visibility piece. Stop at Uber, and then I decided I wanted to get out of the brokerage game, like many of us do, but I got sucked right back in. I'm never probably going to get out. I made a short stop on the other side. Yeah. So I got to Transfix. How did I get to Transfix? I had someone I'd formerly worked with that's now at Transfix that called me and told me some really great, stuff about what the company's doing, about their leadership. And I was like, yeah. Everyone says that. And kept calling me. I was like, yeah. Everyone keeps saying that. And finally gave me a call, and it was the right time, right place. And I met a lot of their leadership, our COO, Sophie, and our CEO, Lily, and just really the vision of where the company's going, and the people that they're putting in place to take it to the next level was super interesting to me. They have a great product and a good vision, and excited to help them build into the next phase. So that's how I ended up at Transfix.
Yeah, that was the one reason I knew about Transfix was, I mean, I'm nobody, so I don't really know shit about shit. But the one thing I did know is they had a female CEO, and she seemed to be killing it. And I was like, oh, we don't have many females in the industry, so no. I always try to keep track of them. Okay, so that was like a perfect intro. You are natural. You should have been on my show a long time ago. I'm a tiny bit bitter, but I will move on for 5 minutes. Okay. Jackie, what do you think about Beth having long hair now? It looks very sexy and chic, and I love it.
Jesus
but
Christ.
What do you think? Does it do you?
The first time I met her, her hair was much shorter.
Yes, it's definitely right. For a long time, it was beautiful short too.
Yeah, we have to thank COVID. I'm pretty sure she just could not get her hair cut during most of COVID. Facts.
I love it. All right, Jackie, tell us about you. You also have an extensive career in our industry and have been, you C.H. Robinson, then you went to Uber, and then you went to P44. Tell me everything. And now you're at P44, and tell us what your role is, by the way, too, because it's an intense role.
So starting out, much like Beth, I just ended up in the freight industry. It wasn't planned. I had a major in marketing. Business marketing was where I was headed, and then moved to Chicago from more like central Illinois, and ended up at C.H. Robinson. And it was a great kickoff to my career. I learned so much being at C.H. Robinson in a traditional brokerage, and all of the crazy things that I'm sure we all know we deal with day to day. From there, I took a quick hiatus into the restaurant industry doing sales, event sales, and then quickly, as we all know, we can't leave the logistics industry, and we always end up back in brokerage. So I ended up at Uber Freight, which is actually where I met Beth and her short hair as well. So that's where we started working together. Uber Freight was great. I learned so much there as well, just like a different perspective, a lot about, building sustainable processes and efficiency, and really just growing in a much more like tech focused way for brokerage, which was awesome. The normal strains of brokerage, are hard. And I was looking for what my next step was. And that was Project 44. And I was really excited to take the next step into my career and moving more towards like SaaS and tech overall, but also just really believed in what Project 44 is doing in terms of trying to change the industry and really just drive visibility across supply chain end to end. So very excited to be here. I am the director of our carrier network in the US. So I lead our teams that are connecting carriers into Project 44 via various methods. So via mobile or ELD connections, or we also do more tech heavy connections like API. So working heavily with our carrier base and trying to share that visibility across the globe.
I love that. Damn, you can tell this is going to be a really good episode. All right, so you guys are about to get blindsided by a couple questions.
All right.
Okay. I made you think that you had control.
Let me drink my beer.
She's got to drink her Budweiser. Wait, Beth, where are you right now? Are you in Chicago, or where are you?
I'm in Alabama. I'm at my parents' house because it's the holiday weekend, so I made a pit stop here. And of course, I am drinking my Budweiser. If anyone's ever known me for years, it's my favorite beer. They might be the king of beer, but I'm willing to be their queen. So if anyone's out there does work with Budweiser, is in the Budweiser world, I am willing to do any free advertisement for you. You guys, I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's my first love.
I love it. Okay, I feel like maybe you guys should be running this show, and I should just be ready drinking here. So how did you guys? I'm dying for this answer. And Beth is always, and she is my best friend, even though she says she's not. And I'm always trying to get juice out of her, but she like holds things close to the chest until she gets a couple Budweisers in her, and I hope she'll loosen up. So, what did it feel like when you guys had an extensive career, like a traditional brokerage, and then you moved into companies that were, and I'm not saying anything's wrong with this, but they're just so different, right? They're tech-based companies that come from the e-commerce world, a different perspective. For Beth, it was a double whammy, right? You had Uber and then you had Amazon. But what were the biggest differences and learning curves for you guys, good and bad, when you moved into those types of companies? I'm just curious because I have never done that. I've been in transportation forever. It's just be in transportation. Okay, go. Sorry.
Jackie, why don't you take this? Because you had
Yeah, I'll start out. One of the biggest things that I realized is going into Uber Freight, it was so different from a traditional brokerage, is brokerages are heavily reliant on the relationships that they establish with their carrier base and moving their capacity and their freight that way. And in moving into Uber, it was more so focused on transactional. How can we move as many loads as possible without having to use any operational capacity to do so? So we, in markets like where we just ended, where it's very spot heavy and there's a lot more transactional freight, we saw a lot of successes. But whenever it starts to get harder and there's, we really have to work with our carriers to get where we need to be, lacking those relationships made it really difficult. So that was an interesting spin that worked in some markets and didn't work in others, but it was definitely a way that we drove a difference. And we also looked at, instead of building relationships or bringing on carriers that were more of those larger regional or national carriers, essentially going to the untapped market of owner operators and being able to work closely with them, because we didn't have to establish as many relationships. So we were able to also tap into that market and gain a little bit more capacity through our providers that way as well.
That's cool. What about culturally?
Culturally, it's very right? So you get a lot of the pros of that. There's, free beer in the kitchen, lots of snacks, lunch, coffee anytime you want to. Their goal is that you have everything you need in the office so you don't leave and you can just continue.
Don't need to leave. They used to do that test at law firms. They'd be like, we're going to order dinner for you guys. And at first I was like, oh, that's amazing. And then I'm like, oh, wait, they want me to keep billing.
Yes,
Go ahead, sorry.
Exactly. But I really enjoyed my time there as well. So it was great learning curves across both.
What do you have to say, Beth? Because Beth, I know that when you looked to the right earlier and you looked off to the distance, you thought to yourself, why did I agree to this? I've been saying no for 2 years and now she has got me on a weak moment. But dude, tell us everything.
I think the difference of going from a traditional to the the tech model, some of this, what Jackie said, I thought it was super interesting for once. And this was a positive, in my opinion, towards the driver or the guy that owns like 5 or under, which is a majority of the trucks on the road, is for the first time when I saw it at Uber, or when I even saw it at Amazon on certain loads, you could run for Amazon, or you could run for a Procter & Gamble, or you could run and pick up freight for any Fortune 500 company and be dedicated on those lanes, where before at a traditional brokerage, yes, we still wanted that, but we were sometimes literally giving people that opportunity if there was a big, if the volume was quite massive for a week, because it would require more carriers on the lane and you don't have all this digital mechanism to keep up with it. So I thought that was really exciting to see. I think the other thing that I thought was really interesting to see, and an interesting play, is the traditional method of developing carrier lanes and calling carriers and saying, hey, we just won this award. We have it for 6 months. Do you want it? And manually inserting like offers into loads stopped. So you were able to really rely on the capacity that you have generated, that is active, because you have a breadth of data now that you never had. And you were able to, through systems like an RMS or something super simple like that. That's just the one I know in the industry. Insurance was always up to date. So you always knew, like I said, who was sessioning, what was happening. So when you took these awards, you could take them with confidence that you could cover them without having to expend a ton of your carrier sales rep time, where they could instead go build relationships with carriers. So that was a very interesting and new play to me. And it took me a moment to get used to. I worked with Jackie before. We did have some customers where it was new freight to our system. And I was like, you have to go out and develop these lanes. And they were like, that's not our model. And I just was like, no, it is. And then it all worked out okay. So it was a lot of anger for no reason, but that was something that was an interesting learning curve for me.
Speaking of Amazon, I got to make sure that I give a plug to my friend, Hannah Richards. She is going to do a fireside chat, and she's VP of like everything transportation related at Amazon. And I want you guys, when you go to the Arkansas conference, which I believe Beth is going to be there. Jackie, are you going to be there as well in Arkansas?
I won't, unfortunately.
What?
We need to call
to get you a ticket.
You need to be in Arkansas.
Yeah, give me a ticket.
Yes. Yes, let's do it. We will. And I want you guys to all check out the fireside chat with Hannah, and she'll talk about Amazon. And somebody please ask her, do people at Amazon, before they have meetings, do they really need to write a 6-page report before they go into meetings? And then you all sit there quietly and read the report in the meeting before you begin the meeting. Yes, Beth? Yes? That is so awkward. Is it awkward when you're reading? And you're like,
I don't think like
I can't read because I think somebody's staring at me.
No, you should just like send it out and have a pre-read and then like just 5 minutes. But I mean, when I worked at Amazon and when we did that, I thought it was a waste of time. I was like, oh God, this is so stupid. Just tell me what to go do. But as I got older and now in my career, I understand it because it's really trying to drive an idea based on facts and figures and not emotion of like what we should do as a business, to drive it from leadership down so that you can directly go in the direction you need to, right? Otherwise, how do you prioritize what you're going to build or what you're going to do next? And I get it.
Yeah.
Maybe 6 pages is aggressive. 1 page is fine, but I get it now. I'm not happy about it that I get it. I hate business writing.
Oh, Hannah's going to love you.
Knows this, but yeah.
Hannah's going to love you. All right. So tell me, Transfix, once you started working for Transfix, I started digging in to find out where my BFF was working. And they told me about this really interesting technology they have with pricing and everything else. And I don't know how much you're allowed to share, but could you give us a little inside understanding of what Transfix is doing that's different than the rest of the industry?
I can give you as much insight as I have, because I think there's 2 things. One, obviously no one can tell everyone their secret sauce. That's just like name of the game. And the second thing is being the director of carrier development. Pricing is in my wheelhouse, but it's not the main thing I focus on. So it's not the team that I really, partner with the most. So I'm not going to be the best at it. But really, what I think is interesting about it is the way they've went about inventing like their pricing algorithms. It's really taking into a lot of predictive analytics of things that we don't think about, which is like facility information and warehouse time, or like traffic, or other things that would be able to tell you in real time, like, hey, if you're going to go to this facility, the price might be a little bit different, and this is why. And there's some other things in there, obviously, that people smarter than I know about. But when it comes to real time, like spot pricing specifically, I really think we're ahead of the game. I also think too, when it comes to contractual pricing, we've done a great job of getting it on the mark, so that we don't have a lot of fluctuation when we see the market kind of go up or down like we do now. So those are just a few things in it, but someone much smarter than me runs that side of the business. They just put me here
so cool,
to socialize with you.
I didn't understand it either. I mean, I didn't, they were telling me everything for like an hour, and I was like, I don't know what y'all are saying, but it's freaking cool what you're saying. And it's really cool. Yeah. So Jackie, tell me what's going on over at P44. I have to tell you that when I have been developing out my software, Carrier Assure, many users have come to me and asked and told me that visibility is very important, and the carriers having, like the shippers and brokers having visibility into the freight is very important. I think we're all getting the hang of that now, but talk to me about what P44 is doing and what are you working on that's cool these days?
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think especially as we've moved into the market that we have after COVID, visibility has been the forefront of everyone's mind, from shippers to brokers to carriers, and in the sense of just gaining that visibility as supply chains are essentially ruptured and what we've been dealing with in the past couple of years. But at P44, we're really working towards becoming an end-to-end visibility for supply chain. So if you're working through just truckload or you're doing intermodal or ocean, really being able to provide that visibility across all modes. And that's our first and foremost thing that we're working on right now, which is super exciting as we look to expand into new markets and new regions. And one of the things that I've been taking over myself and is working to expand into our Latin American market, which is very exciting, bringing on teams there and just starting a new side of the business, which is amazing from always working domestic freight, more or less. So very exciting stuff there. One of the biggest bets that we're working on this year as well is, I know it's in, the top of everyone's mind, is just sustainability and how can we really help drive that, that information to our shipper partners, our brokerage partners, our carrier partners. And it's really a very large focus of ours this year. And we feel that we're uniquely positioned to help companies address the issue of just measuring accurate and incredible carbon emissions and really achieving the reduction of their supply chain emissions as well. And so that's one of the biggest things we're focusing on this year. There'll definitely be more to come and you'll see more on that, but we feel that we're in a place to really be able to provide that additional push to give shippers and carriers what they need.
That's powerful. And I know that shippers especially are very focused on sustainability. And it has been a huge initiative. So those of you who maybe aren't as close to shippers in those large companies as much, and you're like, sustainability, fuck it. Like, I'm just trying to book a load, people. And no. Like, your customers, these shippers, it's huge for them. It's very important for them. So to flip over, to talk about something and to educate me a little bit, why are we still having difficulties getting carriers to opt into visibility? I know that that's over at least, the last 10 years, it's been a problem. Is it still a problem? Is that still something? Yeah. Yes. Beth, tell me more, since you are close to it. You are the director of carrier development and have worked in this area for a long time.
It is. I think there's several reasons for it. I think one, people don't like change. Like, this is a change in the industry, and we have a lot of drivers that have been driving for a long time. And a lot of people too, a lot of companies that have used EDI for a long time, and EDI helps, but it's not real time, right? So that change is hard. I think the other thing, educating people. I know people are always leery of new tech and new things. So the leeriness to be like, well, you're always going to know where I am if I use this app or if I plug into this, is there. I hate to say this, newsflash, if you have an Apple, they already do know where you are, with or without you knowing it. So I don't see the difference. But I understand.
They're all tracking you. You have a freaking phone tracking you. Google Maps knows where you are at all times, people.
I mean, it does. So I think that's happening. But I think the thing that drivers, there's also a change in the industry that we have to help to change is, our customers and the people and the freight that you want to service, especially right now, again, look at the market, is turning into, like, the spot market's going down. We've seen more postings on the DAP board. It's like risen 10% week over week. Spot's drying up. Contract freight is looking more and more attractive at the moment. And in order to continue to serve contracted freight, you have to be able to track somehow through a visibility app, whether it be the Transfix app that you can log into, whether it be whatever other provider's app that you need. ELD integrations, P44. I know specifically for Transfix, when you log in with us, we have a way to connect you with P44 or other providers to have those integrations so that you can start tracking, because you need them not just for Transfix. You need them to haul for a company direct. You need them to haul for any other large broker. They go towards your carrier scores. They go towards your visibility into freight. And ultimately, again, if you want to keep on these big, consistent loads, the shipper is dictating that the carrier uses. It's not necessarily the broker per se. So I guess that's where I get kind of like some heartburn. It's not just like, a broker who maybe you don't want to talk to saying you got to do this. It's the way the industry's moving. So that's my 2 cents on it. And I'm interested to hear Jackie's view.
Yeah, I actually agree. I mean, early on, the large national carriers were adopting this very easily. I mean, if you think about the gains in terms of efficiency and the less people you have to employ to just call and track a shipment, right? Like the larger players understand the importance of it. But as we've driven as an industry into this real-time visibility realm, and more shippers are requiring this. We're seeing now that, originally shippers are looking at price and on-time performance for in order to determine or bring carriers into their network. And now the third thing they're looking at is real-time visibility, and do you supply that to your shippers? And if you don't, that can make or break a decision on whether or not you are awarded a lane or not. And so as we see this changing and we've seen the industry move this way, we are starting to see more and more carriers willing to share data and willing to get integrated with a real-time visibility supplier, Project 44, amongst others as well. And I think the long tail of carriers, which makes up a majority, like about 95% of the carriers within the US, have less than 20 trucks. And so if you think about that, those are the carriers that we now need to get integrated in order to continue to show real-time visibility across the board, right? And so that's where we're focused now, in figuring out how can we provide great incentives for these carriers and really help drive them to understand the importance of this visibility across the board.
I think one more thing.
I love it. I'm so happy to have
on.
you guys. Oh, go. Well, hold on. I think the FreightWaves guys, Tanner, Isaiah, Christian, do I have time? Or because they love you, Beth, more than they love me. Oh, I have to wrap it up, they said.